In this age of information, we're exposed to hundreds, even thousands of times more data every day than our ancestors ever were. But have you noticed something strange? The depth of our thinking has become shockingly shallow. In fact, people capable of truly independent thought make up less than 5% of the population. How can this be? It's because even with this flood of information, most of what we see is just what other people want us to see. This has led more and more of us to live our entire lives believing in a phantom reality. Our minds filled with a constant diet of mental junk food. I know your life is busy, and I know these concepts aren't easy to swallow, let alone master. If you only listen to this once, you'll miss the point. My advice is to see this through to the end, and then listen again and again whenever you have a spare moment. Doing chores, on your commute, share this video and save it to a playlist so you can come back to it. I can promise you, within just a few short months, your way of thinking will evolve to a level you never thought possible. Welcome to Evolve Every Day. The most fundamental difference between a person who is awake and one who is asleep is the ability to see through to the basic laws that govern this world. When you awaken and have that moment of clarity, you'll understand that the world operates on two sets of rules. Everything you see and hear is, in its own way, part of a carefully constructed trap. The world is built on two operating systems. The first is the system of morality and ethics. It's grand, noble, and discussed openly at the dinner table. The second is the system of raw, practical utility. It's what actually helps you build a life and find security. It's discussed only in trusted circles and is never meant for public broadcast. The morality of the first system is the packaging. The self-interest of the second system is the actual product. The knowledge we're fed from childhood is almost entirely from that first system of appearances. But human beings are always calculating their own advantage in their hearts. That's the second system of interest. The truly effective people in this world are masters at using the first system as a vehicle to achieve the goals of the second. Almost everyone wears a glittering cloak of morality, and then, from beneath it, they work tirelessly to secure their own benefit. The rules of morality are on everyone's lips. The rules of interest are in everyone's heart. So you must never be fooled by the first system. Instead, you must learn to see the world through the lens of the second. For example, never judge a person by what they say. Judge them only by what they do. The first system is a beautiful distraction, but you can't use it as a blueprint for building a successful life. If you want to truly understand why people do what they do, you must analyze their actions based on the second system. This is the method of interest analysis, and self-interest is the primary driver of all human activity. This method of analysis will never fail you. Let me give you an example from my own life. I was on a trip with a friend, and we had a lot of luggage in a city where we knew no one. In the hotel lobby, my friend discreetly slipped the bellhop a $50 bill. For the next few days, that staff member was incredibly attentive to us. He arranged everything perfectly, from our travel itineraries to handling all our bags. My friend later told me, if you want someone's help, you first have to understand what you can offer them. Between strangers, there's no real relationship outside of mutual interest. Money is the purest expression of that. $50 isn't a lot, but it's 1,000 times more effective than 10 well-worded compliments or trying to fake a friendship. That is the method of interest analysis. So many people approach you with a clear goal. They know what they want from you, but they never once consider what they can offer in return. Before you ask to receive, you must first think hard about what you can give. Is the value you offer something the other person actually needs? Is it unique? The world of adults is governed by two simple words: value exchange. If the benefits of the second system, the system of interest, can't be established, then the relationship will forever be stuck in the first system. Any moral or ethical connection between two people will be nothing more than a polite, hollow performance. History marches forward, but the underlying laws never change. The world develops at a dizzying pace, but human nature remains the same. Avoiding harm is an instinct, but pursuing benefit is the single most important driver of human action. And because the second system can only be acted upon, not spoken of, the world needs both to function. The first system of rules is like the pleasantries we exchange. It's the polite fiction between people. You know, when you're in a conversation and you know you're speaking pleasant nonsense, and you know the other person is telling a white lie, and you both know that you both know, everyone understands the game. This creates the first system. We need it because without it, human interaction would look too cold, too transactional. Think about Confucius. His contemporary, Guiguzzi, was a brilliant strategist, but why isn't he celebrated in the same way? Because his theories were all about the second system. They were incredibly effective, but not suitable for public discussion. There's a saying, true maturity is seeing the truth but not speaking it. This refers to the second system. You can only use it. You can never, ever say it out loud. The moment you speak it, you've already lost. In this world, people who tell the raw truth often look like villains, while so many villains try desperately to appear like saints. So, what's the fastest way to upgrade yourself? Here is a method that has an immediate effect. Anyone who can learn and apply this will experience a profound personal transformation. This system is something you won't hear anywhere else, and it's divided into 3 levels. Most high achievers have only grasped the surface of the first level, and that alone puts them far ahead of the crowd. But to understand the second and third levels requires intuition and a certain readiness. I'll try to be as concise as possible. See how many levels you can grasp. The first level is the realization shared by most successful people around us. They understand that this world is a world of illusion that is controlled by tangible reality. The unseen controls the seen. The reason most people can never break through their limitations is that they live only in the world of form. They are trapped by what their eyes see and their ears hear, mistaking the form for the substance. For instance, if someone is nice to them today, they think, that's a good person. If that same person is not nice to them tomorrow, they think, that's a bad person. Their perception is shallow and one-dimensional. So why do masters succeed at whatever they do? It's simple. They don't look at the surface. They search for answers in the unseen laws, principles, human nature, and universal order that most people ignore. They build a God's eye view, analyzing situations from the perspective of every person's emotional state, interests, past, present, and future. How could their predictions not be accurate? Masters also find it very difficult to suffer because they understand that all that exists is rational. Therefore, any appearance, change, or disappearance is perfectly normal. Cycles are the only constant. The only difference is their duration. Anyone who can truly grasp this will have a spirit so strong it is nearly invincible. Alright, for the average person, listening up to this point is enough because what I'm about to say next will likely be impossible for them to comprehend. The second level. Those who can understand this can become masters of their reality because it runs contrary to our normal perception. The entire universe is a manifestation of energy, and that includes you and me. Every thought, every gesture we make is a frequency. Frequencies aren't positive or negative. They are only high or low. High energy influences low energy. A stronger belief, a more beautiful and comforting feeling, has a greater ability to influence more people. The more people who are on your frequency, the more easily you will succeed. Success, therefore, is not the issue. At the same time, in this world, time and space do not truly exist. The changes we perceive as the flow of time are merely a series of transformations, and every transformation has a predetermined destiny. A person who can grasp this destiny is someone who understands the universal way. They are the prophets, the visionaries, the ones who can make anything happen. This is just the second level, accessible only to those who can hear and understand. The third level. I will continue with the third level. However, be warned, what follows is incomprehensible without a highly advanced awareness. First, everyone in the world is you. There is no one else but you. Every change you witness is a struggle, a tug of war, a confrontation between you and yourself. The Buddha is you. The demon is you. The animal is you. The human is you. The ultimate goal is for you to recognize all of this and reconcile with yourself. Second, the nature of the world is without good or bad, without beauty or ugliness. There are no standards. Everything is natural. I am the universe and the universe is me. Third, all forms are illusions. The more you desire something, the more you lack it. Because? If you've seen my previous videos on Wang Yangming, the brilliant statesman, philosopher, and thinker from China's Ming Dynasty, you'll know he essentially discovered the influence of something like the subconscious mind on human action. He believed that if you could truly understand this truth, change would happen instantly and your current circumstances could be transformed in a moment. However, most people who read about his concept of the unity of knowledge and action completely misunderstand what he was saying. He was talking about the subconscious, or to put it another way, a kind of intuitive feeling. He was not talking about the kind of knowledge you get from reading a book or listening to me now. That kind of knowledge needs to be understood at its true root. The true knowledge he spoke of is how you can drive a car while on the phone or ride a bike while listening to music without a conscious thought process. It's spontaneous. Between the knowing and the acting, there is no time gap. It's like when you smell something foul, you are instantly repulsed. You feel disgust at the same moment you smell it. You don't smell it first and then decide to be disgusted. Or when you see a beautiful person, you are instantly attracted to them. You don't see them first and then decide to like them. The unity of knowledge and action is not a method. It's not telling you to do what you know. Wang Yangming was describing a state of being. He was saying these two things are already one thing, two sides of the same coin. It's like a person's face. When it appears, it naturally has both a left and the right side. It's like being pricked by a needle. The action of being pricked and the feeling of pain are one and the same, inseparable. This is the foundation. If you can grasp this, I'll continue with something deeper. For example, at night, your conscious brain knows you should go to sleep, but your subconscious, your true knowledge, objects. It wants to stay up a little longer to satisfy a craving. In the end, you'll find that your brain has no real authority. The subconscious is the master. The result is you go to bed very late. Or when you want to go for a run, your subconscious immediately creates feelings of fatigue, boredom, and the pain of persistence. These feelings will cause the run to be postponed. Remember this. Everyone, right now, at this very moment, is in a state of the unity of knowledge and action. Your actions can only be the expression of your subconscious. You must burn that sentence into your mind. It's crucial for what comes next. The subconscious is the true knowledge Wang Yangming spoke of. Of course, my use of the word subconscious is just a close approximation to help you understand. This concept is closer to what Buddhism calls the alaya vijnana, or the storehouse consciousness. It governs our ego consciousness, the seventh consciousness, which exists beyond the six senses of sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and intellect. The intellect of the six senses is the knowledge we typically think of. Knowing smoking is harmful, knowing sleeping early is healthy, knowing we should exercise and read more. However, this intellect is completely overpowered by the alaya vijnana and cannot decide anything on its own. The alaya vijnana controls our ego, which is the source of our greed, anger, arrogance, and doubt. This is why Wang Yangming said, "To have good and evil is the stirring of the will. To know good and evil is innate knowledge. The first part refers to the personal discriminations that create our sense of self, which in turn gives rise to concepts of good and evil. The second part says, you must let your seventh consciousness, the alaya vijnana, truly know what is good and what is bad. That is true innate knowledge. Wang Yangming, after attaining enlightenment, understood that in life we face countless complex problems. We seem to be busy with a million different things every day, but in the end, all we are ever dealing with are our own feelings and perceptions. For example, imagine you go to a family reunion. Everyone else is driving a new Mercedes or BMW, but you pull up in a 10-year-old sedan you bought for a few $1,000s. They keep making subtle comments about how your car isn't safe, the engine is weak, the interior is cheap, and the logo isn't prestigious. How would you feel in that moment? Now, let's change the scenario. Imagine you're the one driving a brand new luxury car worth $250,000. What would your feelings be then? Exactly. The problem lies right there. The reunion is the same reunion, the people are the same people, so why does your emotional state change so drastically in these two different contexts? If you can truly understand this, you will achieve a genuine transformation. The truth is, apart from the feelings brought on by birth, aging, sickness, and death, which are real, everything else you feel, happiness, sadness, hatred, envy, greed, is just a reflection of your own inner state. None of these emotions exist objectively. They all arise from the illusions and activities happening outside your true original mind. The external physical world is one, but inside each person's heart is their own little world, and every one of these worlds is different. This is the meaning behind Wang Yangming's statement, there are no things outside the mind. The ocean is just the ocean. It doesn't represent vastness. The moon is just a moon. It doesn't represent longing. All these definitions are created by people. A poet once said, "The fragrance of plum blossoms comes from the bitter cold, but the plum blossom is fragrant simply because it is a plum blossom." Without the bitter cold, the plum blossom wouldn't be what it is. That's right. If you can see through to the essence of things, you can move effortlessly between different emotional states, unbound by the barriers that trap other people. At that point, you become an invincible being, able to connect with anyone and handle anything. After his enlightenment at Longchang, Wang Yangming deeply understood this truth of life. He realized that the attitude of the mind determines one's actions, which led to his famous saying, "The unity of knowledge and action." On the surface, it seems easy to understand. For instance, when parents grow old, a child naturally knows they should be filial. That is the knowledge. The act of being filial is the action. These two are a unified whole. However, to truly grasp these words is not so simple. At its core, the human mind has no good or evil, but the moment a thought stirs, good and evil exist. Wang Yangming came to believe that the mind itself is without error. This is the highest principle. There is no need to search for truth outside yourself. It can only be found within your own mind. He argued that the mind is one. There's no need to distinguish between the human mind and the mind of the way. You only need to cultivate your mind, remove malicious thoughts, and preserve your true nature. Our mind is the source of all meaning. Everything will naturally reveal itself. But whether it disturbs my mind or not is up to me to decide. Even if the sky falls and floods cover the earth, as long as my mind is at peace, this world will forever be stable. All problems of the mind are, in the end, only problems of one's inner state. No matter how treacherous the world becomes, as long as my mind remains unmoved, nothing can harm me, and no one can infect my thoughts. This is the power of Wang Yangming's philosophy of mind. Your subconscious is directing your life, but you call it fate. In the last segment, we talked about how Wang Yangming discovered something like a subconscious that dictates our actions, and how truly understanding it can instantly change our circumstances and welcome our true destiny. In this part, we're going deeper. Whether you can grasp this or not depends on your readiness. A quick note, my content is only for a small group of people. If you have a herd mentality, please go back to watching videos of handsome guys and beautiful girls. Don't waste your time here. Think about it. When Wang Yangming was trapped in that remote outpost at Longcheng, he must have thought, my whole life I've been thinking, studying, striving, and I've not only failed, I've ended up in this desperate situation. At that moment, he decided to stop thinking. He started to change his position. He asked, if I were a sage, what would I do? He no longer thought about how to cultivate himself to become a sage. He started to directly act according to the standards of the sages he knew. He began to ignore the thoughts and feelings in his head and simply emulated their actions. The result, as we all know, was a complete transformation. It sounds simple, but the inner process is incredibly difficult. Let me break it down for you. Because we're dealing with the mind, all our actions must originate from the subconscious. Human behavior cannot escape the control of the subconscious. Wang Yangming ignored this and essentially hacked the process. There is a key insight that can help you understand this mental technology, and I'm going to share it with you today. Imagine your life is like a character in a video game, an AI character. That AI, no matter what it thinks, does, or decides in the game world, has already had all its attributes set by the real player behind the screen. This means that no matter what the AI character thinks or does, it's not its own true decision. From its perspective, it feels like free will, but in reality, it can never transcend the limits of its programmed mindset. In other words, its thoughts and actions for today were predetermined. This was Wang Yangming's problem, and it is our problem right now. He realized that no matter how much he studied, contemplated, or cultivated, he was still just that AI character. The attributes of this AI, let's call it character A, were fixed. He wanted to break through, to change his attack stats or magic stats, but he couldn't because he was just the program executing those parameters. In other words, each of us is a program executing our own parameters. You cannot change your parameters by thinking about them. But now, imagine there is another AI, character B. This AI executes the parameters of a sage, meaning its attack and magic stats are far higher than character A's. Wang Yangming's game-breaking move was this: whatever B does, I will do. If all my actions are identical to B's actions, then am I not B? What is there left to cultivate? What is there left to study? This immediately shattered his programming. It broke the game. He had to endure immense psychological discomfort. When he mimicked the actions of character B, it must have felt incredibly strange and wrong, because knowledge and action are a unified whole. When he performed that imitative action, the action itself was not something the parameters of character A could produce, so he was bound to feel uncomfortable. But in doing so, he was no longer himself. This is the method of breaking through your cognitive parameters through behavior. Because knowledge and action are the yin and yang sides of the same thing, by changing the subconscious knowledge, the action must also change. This is what Wang Yangming truly meant, and this is the concrete path to implementation. The human thought process flows from the senses to the brain, then from the brain to the subconscious, the true knowledge Wang Yangming spoke of. The subconscious then manifests as action because they are a single entity. Normally, we rely only on the conscious mind, the intellect, to understand things, and this is completely useless for true change. We must train ourselves to change the subconscious to change our actions. But since the subconscious cannot break through its own programming, you must use reverse engineering through behavior to change the subconscious knowledge. Your subconscious is directing your life, but you call it fate. Therefore, Wang Yangming's mental technology is, in fact, a tool for changing your destiny. When he broke through his own parameters and changed his fate, he inevitably had the same realization as the great Zen and Taoist masters. Mind and matter are one. All things are a unified whole. He understood the operating principles of the entire universe. This content is quite difficult. If you don't understand it, or if what you're thinking right now isn't what I'm trying to express, that's normal. Just take your time. When you truly and completely understand it, this philosophy of mind becomes a cheat code for life. Everything becomes as simple as eating, sleeping, and breathing. You can let go of anything you want to let go of, and pick up anything you want to pick up.